The next section in chapter 1 is called the per unit system of measurement. And up to this point, what we've focused on is expressing the magnitude of a particular quantity, and be it kilograms, power in watts, or electric potential, or whatever in volts. You know, it's an expression of the magnitude. So what we are trying to do in this section is to use something that's called the per unit system, and you'll see really useful applications for this later in this course, and really throughout the rest of your engineering education. But what per unit basically does, it allows you to compare one unit to, or one value to another value. Good example given to us in our textbook. He says, suppose that the average weight, and let me switch off here and we'll do some demonstration here on the iPad. But suppose that, and this is probably not realistic, is it? But suppose that the average weight in New York City is, he says, 130 pounds. Okay. Not sure that's really accurate, but anyway, so that would be the average weight. So what we're going to do is we're going to establish 130 pounds as the base. And then what we're going to do from there is we're going to compare everything or additional weights to the base value. Okay? So for instance, let's say that there is a person, and that person weighs, let's call this person person 1, and this person weighs 160 pounds. Okay, now what we want to be able to do is we want to compare this person 1 to the base value, or the average value. And again, this is just a number that we've selected, right? I mean, it's really arbitrary. In this case, you know, we've determined that it's an average. So what we're going to do whenever we try to work with per unit values, we're going to use the base value as our denominator. So this is 130 pounds, and this again is our base. And then what we're going to do is we're going to compare this 160 pound person 1 to this base value. And what happens, it's just a matter of, you know, simplifying this relationship. And so if I divide 13 into 160, I will come out with a number of 1.23, okay? Now this is a unitless number. It establishes a relationship between the base and person 1. So I can look at that per unit value and I can say this person is 1.23 per unit value to the base. Okay, let's look at another example here. Here's an example next. He says, let's say that we have another person and that person weighs 115 pounds. Okay, again, our base is established at 130 pounds. That's our base. And this person is 115 pounds. Okay, simple division gives us approximately 0.088 per unit values. Now, for the time being, don't worry too much about, I don't see any use of this. I don't think it's, you know, something that's, you know, something that I will use a lot, or something that's, you know, very, very practical. You will see, especially in this world of electrical machines, especially when we're talking about motors, you'll see how useful it is to be able to utilize per unit. Another example he gives here says, what if we're just given the per unit value. We know the base, again, is established as 130 pounds, okay? That doesn't vary, that is set. And somebody says, well, here's somebody, he says, here's a football player that weighs or is 1.7 per unit, okay? Really, all that means is this person that we're showing is 0.7 or 70% more than the base. So if I wanted to get an actual number with that, I would say 1.7 per unit times the base, and that would give me 221 pounds. So of course this person is more than the base unit. Anything else in this? Again, it's just a really convenient method that at this point may not seem obvious in terms of its usefulness, but I assure you, as we go through this book and we go through this study, and not just with our author's interpretation of this, but you'll see it throughout this field, regardless of the text that you're using or the way that the material is brought to you. Per unit is something that's used very often, and the one thing that we want to get out of here, and one of the major topics of chapter 1, is for us to get familiar with it. Now we've got 2 other sections in chapter 1 that deal with per units, and we'll explore those in the videos that follow.